Thunder. Not sure if you caught that, but that's a sound that we haven't heard in a while. Yeah, we've been in a pretty bad drought. This whole west region of the United States in the west has been in a terrible drought, and we're no exception. But for the past 150 years or so, this region has a tradition, if you want to call it. It's a little bit more than that, but a tradition of if we are ever in want of rain, we'll, as a community, as a region, pray for rain, and it's never ever failed, ever. Pretty cool, and this is no exception. It's pretty neat. Just wanted to show you some of the improvements we've made to the garden and landscape around here. We've had some successes, and we've learned from some of our errors. We first planted peas. We wanted to get them going, and it's now to the point where we're harvesting them. And these are snap peas, and I used to think that you were supposed to pick these when they're nice and flat, because that's kind of how you buy them when they're in the grocery stores. But Laura Jean told me that you wait until they're plump, kind of like regular peas, and they're so much sweeter, and they're juicy, and are really, really quite sweet, almost like a fruit, the amount of sugars in them. For a vegetable, it's really surprising how sweet they are. They're really good. And we've got a lot of them right now. They kind of all came on at once, and it's just fun to see see all these peas that are growing. Of course, we interplanted them with cabbage. One thing that we did this year is we moved our strawberries from a bed back there. They had really been doing all right, but it had been about 3 years, and the field grass was in there and really just taking over that area. Hey, buddy. And there's Alex. So we decided to actually spray it all with Roundup, but only after taking out and removing carefully as many strawberries as we could. We got not only these rows, 1, 2, 3, 3 rows here, and about 5 rows just as long as this, way out in the front of the property up there. They're not doing quite as well because they're further away. We haven't taken quite as good care of them. But these ones are doing great. So anyway, we took out the strawberries in mid-spring, and really carefully took out the grass roots. And these things are really invasive, and they're sharp, and they just dig through the ground and through anything that's in their way. And so we wanted to make sure that all that grass was out of there, and we just planted the little plugs or whatever here, and took them a little while to take off, but now we're doing really well. They're not blossoming like I hoped they would this year. Or maybe, I think most of them are ever-bearing variety rather than June-bearing. So hopefully they'll come on a little later. We've got a combination of the two in there, so we'll just see what happens. Maybe I'll give them a little bit of, is that phosphorus? Phosphorus will give them a little boost, and if they're going to flower, that'll help them out and help them produce good fruit. We did plant beans, and we planted 4 rows of them, and only about 10 plants came up. And so we just decided to plant radishes where the beans were supposed to come up. And the radishes came up quickly, and in fact they're already almost overripe because they grow so quickly. But you can see that we've been working on grow boxes, raised beds. They're pretty simple. They're just 2x10s. Any kind of lumber works. And we just made boxes. We made these out of things that we had left over from the construction of the house. We just over-ordered and had these left over. So they're 20 feet long, which is longer than most grow boxes are, and 4 feet wide, which is actually a little bit wider than is convenient. 3 feet wide I think might be better, because it's just a little bit hard to reach into the middle. But then we just cut like 18-inch pieces of rebar stuck in the ground every 2 feet, and then bent 3/4 inch PVC over them, as you can see. So rebar on one side, rebar on the other side, and you stick the PVC on it and bend it over. That's a 10-foot, just a single length of rebar of PVC pipe. And those things have saved us, as have these little cages we made from cattle panels that you can see kind of all over the place, covering some of the more tender things: tomatoes, peppers, squash, things like that. So we've got really weird weather most years. This year was even weirder. It started out, it's been really, really hot sometimes, and then we gotta get sprayed here with the sprinkler. We got a really cold. Well, we got hit with kind of a deep frost just a few weeks ago. It was the beginning of June, and everything was certainly going to die. All of the tender vegetables, and so I gathered up with the boys as many cattle panels as we could, and we bent them in half, as you see here, kind of an L shape, and a triangle shape. Well, it's an inverted L. And so it took 3 panels, 2 or 3, for this long row. And then we just bought some, well, as long and as 3 feet wide and as long as it came, some like 1 or 2 mil plastic. And we bought several rolls of that, and it was enough to protect our veggies from the frost. We started all these from seed. Well, not all of them, most of them from seed, in our greenhouse in the front of the house. We usually get kind of antsy to start growing things about the beginning of January, and so we frequently find ourselves like starting too early. Things get a little bit too big, and they're like desperate to get out into the garden, which we did this year. In fact, one of the pumpkins is already ripe because of how long it was in the greenhouse. I'll go ahead and show you that. These squash and pumpkins have always done this in the heat. They just kind of, we used to think that was a problem, like they were dying. Turns out that they almost always do this. They'll just in the heat of the day, they'll start to slump over a little bit. But as soon as the sun goes behind a cloud, or as soon as there's a shadow on them, really, they'll perk right back up, and of course at nighttime. Anyway, so here's this. This is a Cinderella pumpkin. As So you can see nice and orange and kind of soft. I know it's supposed to, I mean, it'll harden up a little bit for sure, but we could definitely technically pick that soon and enjoy it. We'll let it go as long as we can, but luckily it's producing other fruits too. We've planted some cucumbers here. We don't do well with cucumbers for some reason. Our dirt is either deficient in something, or we're just not good at it. I know cucumbers don't like wind, and we occasionally get relatively windy here. So instead we planted Armenian cucumbers, which is similar to English cucumbers, and they're more closely related to melons than they are to actual cucumbers, and they've actually done really well for us. So if you can't grow cucumbers, try out those other varieties, and we like them better anyway because they don't have that hard, bitter flesh on them. It's almost like eating a peeled cucumber. I'll show you this. So as you can see here, we've got quite a variety of things in our grow box raised bed things. don't make our mistake, which is we planted a whole bunch of cold crops with heat loving crops, and that was kind of pointless because we didn't need to cover the spinach and broccoli and things like that, but we did of course need to cover the peppers, and they were all interplanted with each other. Just ridiculous mistake. Can't believe we did that, but it worked out. We were able to just cover what needed to be covered, and it doesn't hurt the other things to cover them, but we ended up using more plastic than we needed. Our bell peppers are looking great. We sure do love peppers. In the past, we've planted most of our peppers and tomatoes way too close to each other. This year we've spaced them at least, well, I'd say at least 5 feet apart. This one's all by itself and is not surprisingly the healthiest one in our garden. Can you see that? Yeah, that one there. And we've got a row of raspberries that we planted last year, and it turns out that all of their roots are spreading to this area, just to the side of where we originally planted them. And they're doing better in this part than they are where we planted them. And I've dug down in the soil, and it turns out that's where they're moving to the place where our path used to be. And so that we had made a path out of shredded tree mulch, and it was quite deep, probably about a foot deep of it. And over the years, it just sort of kind of got covered with other things, and it got hidden a little bit from us, but you kind of forgot that it was there. And the raspberries love it. They love it. It's broken down enough that it's essentially become soil, similar to like the Pacific Northwest, where raspberries and blackberries and such do really great on their own in the wild. Behind me, you'll see these beautiful flowers. These are actually carrots in their second year. We planted carrots here last year, and they did really great. We got so many carrots that we actually couldn't consume all of them, and we really failed in the department of preserving some things last year, the carrots being one of those. But I've always liked carrot flowers, so it wasn't a big deal. We just went with it. And now they're, well, golly, I love them. They smell good. They're a beautiful part of the flower, or part of the vegetable garden. In fact, they are vegetables, but they're flowers as well. They're big and they're beautiful. And they smell good. If you know Queen Anne's lace, the flower, they're very closely related to carrots. As you can see, they look almost exactly the same. These just don't have the red dots in the middle. This is Jerusalem artichoke. We've had these just sort of naturalized, I guess is the word, in this area. They've been here for a few years, and we just sort of let them grow and spread. Again, doing great. So they're Jerusalem artichokes. They have kind of like a potato-like tuber in the ground as their roots, and then they on top they grow a beautiful flower that looks somewhere between like a daisy and a sunflower. They're actually really closely related to sunflowers. They're in the same family. Right here we tried, I tried growing, the normal way, digging a little row and planting the seeds of Amaranth, a really bright red, like a seed type grass with seed heads. Can be made into flour, used as grain. Amaranth is really pretty and useful. So I planted that there the regular way. I've got like 5 plants coming up. They're just that big. They'll probably never do anything useful this year. And then I just kind of interspersed and raked in a little handful of them, and none of them seem to be coming up. But we'll see. Not a big deal. If they come up, that would be awesome. But we try things, fail at them. Sometimes we're at the mercy of whatever the weather does, the weather patterns, the heat, the cold. It doesn't let certain things grow, but we'll just try again later. This tree is so cool. It's about 8 feet tall now, 6 feet wide. So a small tree as far as trees go, but given that it was only probably maybe chest height last year and just 3 feet wide, it's grown a whole bunch, and we're so excited about it. We don't have a ton of trees here in this region, but we're determined to change that trend on our property. Got all kinds of bushes out here. This is elderberry. Sorry, almost didn't get that one. So I've got several elderberry trees that we planted from bare root sticks several years ago. These didn't take off for several years, mostly due to the field grass that was really just binding up I'm sure the nutrients in the water, but for whatever reason it was just not letting those bushes grow very well. And we finally killed the grass. We again used Roundup, and then around the trees and close to the useful things we used a specific grass killer, and it's been a real success. Actually, we're really glad to do that. Glad that we discovered that, and our hope is that we can use it so well this year, and just kill every bit of grass. We've got to be more and more careful the more the other plants grow up, but hopefully we can get rid of the grass completely this year and then go 100% organic the rest of our lives. Really, that's the hope and the intention. You can see all these flowery weeds. This is milkweed. Beautiful, I think. Most people consider it an actual weed. We consider it a flower. It's the main, or possibly the only, food source for butterflies. What's the name? Why can't I think of it? Monarch butterflies. And unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot. Monarch butterflies are kind of in the same realm as honeybees these days. They're endangered, or at least, if not officially endangered, they certainly are in trouble. And so we've just decided, it's pretty easy to decide if you want to keep a weed, and suddenly once you've changed that attitude in your mind, those weeds become beautiful flowers, and they're a welcome part of the garden, as these are to us. I think they're beautiful. They smell amazing too. Other trees are doing well on the property line. They've grown a lot more than what we have now, but or rather we've started some. Some don't make it and other ones take off, so we just try to focus on the ones that are doing well, and we'll try again next spring. I love coming out here this time of year because just a week or so of not really paying attention to one part of the garden really makes a big difference. You come out and things have significantly grown to the point where you can really actually notice a difference in these trees. thunder. It's so awesome. Wow, that's a big storm coming in. That was awesome. Here Lizzie has, our oldest, has picked some mint and some chamomile this morning, and it feels like it's the mint is just about bone dry, and the chamomile needs a little bit more time, but I'll watch that storm carefully to make sure that it doesn't ruin that effort. She just really enjoys her herbal tea, and she has been making her own, which is really cool. So that is one part of our yard and garden. It's a long tour, and I could go into more detail and show you more things. Talk about more things, but I'll save that for another day. In the meantime, enjoy your day. Hope this was entertaining and enjoyable for you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.